Hello, you're watching Tech 24. I'm Julia Seeger. Coming up in this week's edition, Facebook, Google, Twitter, and Apple. All these tech giants have already become integral across our work and social lives. But some activists are trying to fight back by creating alternative products. Plus, in Test 24, we'll take a look at Concierge, a smart button designed to control all your home's internet-connected appliances. But first, many residents in San Francisco say they can no longer afford to live in and around the city, as tech workers making million-dollar salaries are driving up the cost of real estate far beyond what most individuals and families can dream of paying, as Luke Schrago explains.
The tech-fueled property boom in California's Silicon Valley has been a boon for those who can afford it. However, it's priced most of the area's ordinary residents out of the market, like 58-year-old Christine, not her real name, who's been living in her car for months.
I could only afford about $300 to $400 a month in rent. Most of the rooms in the decent houses that aren't all run down and full of rats, I run between $800 and $2,500 a month.
Christine's not alone. Caravans lined up along the streets are a testament to her plight as well as others. At the other end of the scale, palatial opulence, properties worth millions and prices going up by 20% every year. It's down to the tech sector and the tens of thousands of highly paid workers it pulls in from around the world every year. Despite floating the idea of doing something themselves, nothing's yet underway.
We haven't directly supported affordable housing projects. Our focus has really been around helping small businesses and entrepreneurs grow. But housing is an issue, and so we're beginning to look at it.
It's left less well-paid public services workers suffering badly. Silicon Valley already has 2,000 fewer teachers than it needs. John Daniel earns over $5,000 a month, and it's still not enough, despite working a second job as an Uber driver after school.
The way things are happening in Silicon Valley is not sustainable. If there are no teachers, then who's going to teach the kids? And that's a problem moving forward.
Living conditions are precarious, to say the least. Any habitable space is being used, like this garage where a young woman lives with her child, for $1,000 a month.
It's time to welcome our in-house expert, Dan and Jay Kattlecar. Hello and welcome, Dan.
Hello, Julia.
The city of San Francisco actually tried to pass a so-called tech tax, but it was actually refused by the city and by tech giants.
That's right. The tax was called the Housing Impact Technology Tax, as the name suggests, because of the spike in housing costs in San Francisco. Some of the members of the city council had proposed this tax, which would have generated around $140 million. Now, the tax was supposed to have been applied to companies that had an annual revenue of $1 million, and it would be around 1.5% payroll tax. So the money generated, the council will have used that money to build shelters for homeless people. Now, as you know, because of the tech boom in San Francisco Bay Area, there has been a massive rise in housing costs, and that has led to an increasing divide between the city's richest and the poorest. So this was a way of bridging that divide. But on the other hand, the opponents, they justified abolishing this tax by saying that it would lead to job killing in the area. So there'll be less jobs in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that's what led to the cancellation or the abolishment of this tax.
And now, Dan, this phenomenon, the fact that home prices are jumping, it's not just happening in San Francisco, it's also happening in other tech hubs across the U.S.
That's right. Though San Francisco remains the gold standard of tech entrepreneurship, there are several cities like San Diego, Seattle, Austin, and Denver that are coming up as tech hubs. Now, one of the reasons is that they are also attracting a large talent pool, and they are also city councils are also offering the similar tax SOPs to tech companies. So that's one of the reasons that these companies are emerging, and let's hope that there's no repetition of the problem that we see in San Francisco.
Very well, thank you, Dan. And other activists are fighting tech giants, but for another reason. Companies like DuckDuckGo or StartPage are trying to put an end to their hegemony and protect personal data and privacy. One example here in France is Quant, a small search engine that wants to take on Google. It says it doesn't track your search history or build profiles on you.
Eric Leandre is the founder of French search engine Quant, designed to take on Google. The American tech giant has grown unchallenged for almost 20 years. Google holds about 70% of the global search engine market share. But Leandri isn't scared. He's convinced that Quant can offer users something Google can't.
The right to a private life exists somewhere, and today this right should be preserved.
Tucked away in the suburbs of Paris, this closely guarded building houses the Quant server. Millions of bits of its users' personal data is protected and erased. Quant doesn't engage in targeted advertising, nor does it geolocalize its users, a major draw for internauts.
When Quant began in 2013, we had on average 1 million visits per month. In the second year, 2 million. In 2015, 3 million. And now we have 28 million people who visit our site every month. So all in all, growth is very strong, exponential in this market.
The French company is still a long way off from competing with Google. Quant only has about 1% of the national search engine market share, and it suffers from one major drawback.
It will be much easier when they offer a mobile app which works just like Google's does, so you can perform voice searches, like searching for a train ticket.
Quant's 30-strong research and development team based in Nice are working on this, but it's no easy task.
Today, the mobile sector is unavoidable. Unfortunately, it's a little blocked by the giants of the market.
If Quant gets a foothold on the mobile search market, it could be on its way to becoming the first European search engine. An ambition that's being encouraged by the EU's investment bank, which has already poured 25 million euros into the company.
In recent years, the tech industry has witnessed the widespread corporate concentration of internet actors, YouTube belonging to Google, WhatsApp to Facebook, and Skype to Microsoft. And according to some experts, this centralization is detrimental, not only because it curbs innovation, but also because it results in a loss of freedom for users. So here in France, an NGO, Framus, is trying to change that by providing alternative solutions. Well, I'm now joined by an activist working for Framus, who's asked to go under the name of Puyu. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
What's at stake here? Why is it so important to counter tech giants like Google?
Well, what's at stake actually is our digital lives. I mean that big data companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, they actually take all our personal data, all our digital lives, and their business model is to sell our digital lives to advertisement companies. And well, that's very problematic because when we put on our agenda calendar app, when we put an appointment to the doctor, it's very intimate, you know. And a second huge stake is that those big data companies, they are the most powerful financial companies nowadays. And so they can capture innovation by buying all the startups and by deciding what the web will be.
And now, how is your nonprofit organization, Framework, fighting back? What are some of the services that you provide?
Well, we don't actually fight back because we can't. We're just a small nonprofit. But we just try to find that alternative exists, and we try to propose those alternatives by using free libre open source software, such as, for example, Agenda, based on free lib software. That is a calendar service. And you can use it, and we don't take your data. We have lots of alternatives, about 30 alternatives to all main services proposed by Google and company.
And now, do you think that using these alternative solutions is going to become a trend?
Well, people are more and more aware that their digital lives are being taken by those companies following the revelation of Edward Snowden in 2013 and laws such as the Renseignement Act in France. Well, they are more and more aware, and they are striving to find alternative, more sensible and more ethical for their digital lives. So yes, it's becoming a trend, I think.
Well, thank you so much, sir. That was an activist working for the NGO Framasoft, going under the name of Puyu. Moving on now to Test 24. It's set to become your favorite caretaker. Concierge is a smart button designed to control all your home's internet-connected appliances. The French startup says it can switch off the lights and start the dishwasher all in one press, Dan.
That's right. This is a smart and autonomous system. It's been inspired from the luxurious Hotel Bell. It works by connecting all the internet-enabled objects through Wi-Fi. There's a dedicated app through which you can make this function. It also uses the so-called if this, then that standard, which means it's a trigger. So if a certain event happens, then there's a trigger for this system, and it results in an operation for some other object. So, for example, if you close the door and it detects that the door is locked, then it will switch off the lamp, or it will switch off the air conditioner, knowing that there's no one in the house. So it's made by a startup based in Lille, and it costs around 170 euros, which is quite expensive for
it's a hefty price.
Yes, that's right. And as you can see, it illuminated. It has a blue light here, and it rings as well. Yes.
Just like old school bells. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan. Well, that's all we have time for here at Tech 24. We hope you enjoyed the show, and do stay tuned to France 24.